The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. E.G. Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and E.G. Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk taxes. And I'll tell you, if you're on the way to a graduation party today or tomorrow or this weekend, we got a treat for you because you can be the smartest person at the graduation party because the kid's probably going to go to college, and everybody's wondering about how to pay for it. And we got the answers today because our special guest is Jeff Boron. He's certified college planning specialist. And so get your FAFSAs out and all those student applications that you're wondering about and how to send your kid to college and all those questions that you have. And whether you're the grandma, the grandpa, or the mom or the dad, this is your opportunity to pick Jeff's brain. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Esther. How are you doing today?
Good. Staying nice and cool, I
Graduation parties around us. Everybody's graduating. And,
that's for sure.
Slow down the season. So you mentioned FAFSA today, this morning. I did my last FAFSA of the season. You know, a parent had forgotten. They came in to see me actually yesterday with all their tax information and everything. Today's the last day you can actually file. And why is that important is there are certain loans, Stafford loans, subsidized loans, etc., that you cannot get unless you file a FAFSA, and merit scholarships too. So all of a sudden what's going to happen is the students are going to want to apply for loans in July and August, and they can't because they didn't submit a FAFSA. Today is midnight is the deadline.
There's no reprieve. I mean, it's like they say, that's it. You don't do it by the 30th of June. You can't do it any later.
Well, the window is closed, so the system is actually closed as of midnight.
No loopholes?
So there's probably a loophole if you beg the admissions office or the financial aid office, but it's not easy. So for all those parents out there that didn't do it, and you know, I always tell parents a Stafford loan, whether it be subsidized or unsubsidized, and can talk about the difference, is a really good, that's a true student loan. So for a freshman, it's $5,500. That's the most they can borrow. And it's about a 4% interest rate, doesn't start repayment until after college is done.
Is it accruing interest, negative?
Well, that's the difference, accruing? Esther, between the subsidized and the unsubsidized. The subsidized does not accrue interest while the student's in school.
So that's what you want.
So we'd love that. The unsubsidized does. Generally, that's part of the award letter, and what I usually see is that split. You know, $3,000 this way, $2,500 this way. You know, I've never seen 100% subsidized. Generally, I see about $2,500 or $3,500 being subsidized. But that's the best loan of all. That's an interest-free loan for 4 or 5 years.
All right, and of course we have Tiff and Chris here.
Hey there.
And guess who's having a graduation party tomorrow?
We are exhausted.
And because they're graduated, their daughter just graduated last week.
Yep. And I just did Gracie's FAFSA. It's so interesting to hear you say that. I just did it about a week ago.
Wow, you got in.
I got in.
Yeah, I was expecting to go in this morning and have the system locked up or slow because of, you know, the traffic coming through.
Right. Wow.
And
so,
how many, all right, go on.
I was just going to say, how many people are you seeing still, I don't want to say, they're mind blown that it's still 2 years back? You know, they're used to, I need a copy of my 17 return, but it's actually 16.
Well, you know, quite a few, because that presents a little bit of a challenge when it comes to doing some real planning work and some of the strategies that we can implement. Now parents generally have to see me at least a year earlier, and unfortunately we have all the procrastination out there. So there are a lot of things that I could have done, but sorry, it's the tax year's over.
Let's talk about that. I'm Esther Gulius, the Tax Lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. We have Jeff Boron here. He's a certified college planning specialist. You got kids going to college, grandkids going to college. You want to get every buck you can get because obviously the goal would not be, Jeff, to end up with the biggest student loan debt at the end, right?
My goal in life, and it's an organization that I belong to called the National College Advocacy Group, is to cut down on the amount of student loans that students are coming out with. We're at $1.5 trillion of student loans. and we're up to about a 12% default rate. Not that they're bad kids, but they come out of college and they're not earning the income they need to live and pay back the loans. So that's why we see interest rates climbing on student loans, because we have double-digit default rates.
All right, so give me an idea. So here, obviously my kids are grown and out, and their college is gone. But let's say that you got a brand new couple, all shiny, bright, and sparkly, coming in, and they say, "Jeff, work a miracle." What kind of miracle? What is it that you look for?
So when it comes to really doing college correctly, it takes a plan. And that's what people fail to do. What do they start doing in the summer? They drive around blindly to campuses because they're going to visit schools because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what their friends told them they're supposed to do. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know if that college is a fit, and they don't know if it's affordable financially. So before you go driving around all over the state and, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania to go see schools because that's where, your son or daughter's cousin went to.
Where your kid wants to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Have a plan. So what we stress, we've got a 3-part program with Send Your Kids to College. The first is really understanding career, then major, then college. And I say it in that order because the majority of the people I see do it absolutely backwards. They pick the college, then they pick a major, and they say, well, what can I do with that major?
Oh, that's great. That's great. So what you're trying to do is say, okay, at the end of this 4 or 5 year project, can you get a job?
Exactly, because, college is an investment. Just like any investment, you want a return on that investment, and the return is having a career that will basically afford you to live the life you want, pay back your college loans, and really pay for the cost of college. So picking the right college is, out of all the things that my group does, that is probably the most important. And it's going to stop the problems we have. Over 50% of students today do not graduate from the college they started at as a freshman.
Jeff, one of my clients, they were wondering, so their daughter was going to a public school and they wanted to write to admissions to see if they could have a reduced tuition. Usually that only occurs if you're in private schools. Is that right?
Yeah, it's unless there's some special circumstances. Okay. So I'll give you an example. When, because we're 2 years back now,
right,
when we're looking at income information, let's say in the meantime, dad lost his job or dad passed away and the family's in an entirely different position. Well, this year they're looking at they looked at the 2016 tax return. If dad died in 2017, they don't know that.
Okay.
So special circumstances is something that we work with and appeal. A lot of people say negotiate. It's somewhat like that, but you've got to have some real strong positions in order to have some leverage with the college. Either your son or daughter has tremendous merit, has some great offers from other schools, or there's some special circumstances that they would have no way of knowing.
I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We have Jeff Boron, certified college planning specialist, in studio to answer your questions. We're going to take a short break and be back with your calls on the other side. All right, that's what it might sound like while your kids are packing for college. And just like every year, this time of year, we're talking taxes, but we're also trying to get your finances in order. And what a big, big burden financially on a family and on the kids is going to college. We have Jeff Boron, certified college planning specialist, in studio to answer your questions about your FAFSA, about the Excelsius program. Is that what it is?
Excelsior.
Excelsius. The thing where they pay your college from New York State. And 8030930 is our phone number, 8030930, star 930 cell phone.
I was going to say, Jeff's just not here today. He's going to be joining us October 13th at for our seminar, What's the Buzz, at the WBBZ TV station in the Eastern Hills Mall.
And so
looking forward to that.
What you're saying, Jeff, is you need to get started early, right?
Yeah, parents should really start doing the planning work. This year, let's say your son or daughter is going into their junior year. We'd like to see them this summer. We'd like to even see them as they're going into their sophomore year, so you can create a plan. But with all the financial forms going back 2 years, if there's some income-based strategies that we want to implement, it's too late if you come when your son or daughter is a senior.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like January to us if you haven't tax planned.
That's right. It's like coming to tax planning on
All right,
January
let's
1st.
talk to Linda in North Tonawanda. Hi, Linda. You've been waiting. How can we help you?
Hi, I just have a question. I forgot to, this is horrible, I forgot to do the FAFSA until I heard your program and I realized it. But here's my question. I did it last year. My son's a sophomore, and I did it last year. I just forgot to do it this year.
Well, she still has time today, right, Jeff?
Yeah, you have time to do it today, and it's called a FAFSA renewal. You do have to do it every year.
Okay, so the FAFSA renewal, is that due today, though?
Yes.
So I had to do it by the end of today.
Yes.
Yes. And the problem was that when I did it last year, the reason I had such a hard time with it was it wasn't letting me sign like it should, and it was giving me difficulty that I just, that's one of the reasons why I kept putting it off. But I definitely have to have it done today. What about if I don't get it done today, can I still apply for the Excelsior Scholarship for my son?
No. See, to do the Excelsior, you need to have your FAFSA filed, and you have to file a TAP. Then you can file. Now, the Excelsior deadline is July 23rd.
But you still have to have
But
the
you
FAFSA.
still have to have your FAFSA done. So,
Okay.
so you got till midnight tonight.
All right, so I just go to FAFSA.com, and I'm sure it would just walk me right through.
FAFSA.ed.gov.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And does your agency, if I was to go in there and sit down with somebody, do they walk you through it?
Absolutely, yeah, we do. When it comes to forms filing, that's just one of the services. Some parents, when I sit down with them to really talk about planning work, they've done a good job, or there's not much real planning that can be done for them, and I'll just help them with their forms. So we do several hundred of them a year.
Okay, and then what was your agency called?
I work with the financial guys, but our college planning division is Send Your Kids to College. We're actually a not-for-profit company in Buffalo. So, but if you call the financial guys' office for me, 633-1515, and ask for Jeff for college planning, they'll set everything up for you.
But you're not there today, right, Jeff?
I'm not there today.
So
I'm
she's
done.
kind of on her own. Now,
Yeah, you're on your own today.
She can amend that, can't she, if she makes an error?
Well, the hard part she struggled with was signing it
Right. So if
electronically.
Exactly. And that is a struggle since they really, with security, they really changed things back a few years ago. Now they're making you update passwords. So if your password was, let's say, tuition 1, you might have to go in and update it and be tuition 2 or something else because they have an expiration date on passwords. So just like all computer security, it's getting harder and harder to do our jobs.
All right, so what if she can't get it filed today? I mean, can she send it in paper, certified mail?
She could.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's an answer for you, Linda.
You can print it. You can do a paper-based filing. I haven't
And
done
run
one
it
of
down
those in
and
years.
run
but-
down to the post office,
and
right?
get it postmarked. Yep.
Wow.
Just print out the form and just do it.
If she struggles
Yeah.
with signing
Right.
it
Yeah, if you
if you
electronically.
struggle
can't
with signing.
get it done electronically.
So do your best to submit electronically. That's what you really want to do. And, it will take you, if you forgot your password, forgot your username, there are ways to recover that.
You have to
and
capture
change it.
security questions
Right.
and things
So when
like
you
that.
change your password, this is the struggle. You change your password, you've got to wait a half hour for the password to reset and then go back in. But it'll walk you through all those, so it's fairly self-explanatory as far as the username and password, situations.
Okay?
All right, I appreciate it.
All right,
Glad
get
you
on
were
your
listening.
computer right now, Linda.
What?
I said get on that computer right now.
FAFSA.ed.gov.
Okay?
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. We're talking college planning today with Jeff Boron from the Financial Guys. Their phone number is 633-1515. And Jeff, today is it, right? This is like April
That's
the
right.
15th for
That's
you,
right. That's right. You got to get it done. Today is the deadline. So you do have up until July 23rd of 18 to do the Excelsior Scholarship. I think New York's timing is way off. You can't apply for the scholarship till March 26th. Well, by March 26th, decision day is May 1st. It puts students in a really tough position because not only do they not know they're going to get the scholarship, they can't even apply for it. So you've got students right now who are who made decisions back in May, and they still don't know if they're getting the Excelsior Scholarship or not.
Well, it's interesting because my daughter-in-law called the other day and she was saying that she got her TAP and Pell Award, and there was still a gigantic amount of money still due. And she says, I thought we were going to get the Excelsior scholarship.
Well, here's the whole.
She didn't understand how that all worked.
Right. It's their cycle is way off, and I'm hoping New York State can fix that. But, the state anticipated last year that 23,000 people would apply or benefit. Instead, they had 75,000. So 2/3 of the people who applied did not get the award. And I have parents call me all the time saying, well, I'm doing this and this because my son or daughter is going to get free tuition. And I say, wait a minute. Maybe
so
not.
How's the criteria determined, though, Jeff?
It's
Who gets free tuition?
It's a lottery system.
So when it was first introduced, it was like this free tuition for New York State
That's how they
kids,
introduced
right?
it. Spoke
But
of.
now it's free tuition to some New York State kids.
Exactly. And then the other thing, too, is there's a lot of stipulations to the Excelsior. So you've got to be on track to graduate in 4 years. And if you get off track, you're not going to be eligible for the future award.
And
they
a
won't
lot
take
of
it back.
kids don't graduate in 4 years, although they're trying to make it more of a real target date. I've watched schools trying to do that now.
Right. So the statistics are in a SUNY, which the Excelsior scholarship applies to, less than 50% graduate in 4 years. Private schools, a little bit above 50%.
Now, do you think that's because the kids really aren't ready for school and they just kind of futz around the first year, and then by the time they get everything together, they've blown the first year?
It's a lot of, I love our guidance counselors locally, but let's face it, they've got 350 students on
That's
average.
a lot.
So, to really do comprehensive career, major, and college selection, it's a time-consuming process, and guidance counselors don't have that one-on-one time. So students are going off, they're picking colleges because that's where their friends are going, and that's where their cousin went to, or I heard that's a good school, or mom and dad told me to go there. And a college has to be the right social, academic, and financial fit. And unless you have all three, it's not going to be successful. So if the work is done up front and the student's not changing colleges, changing majors, then we've got a good chance of getting out in 4 years. Unfortunately, with the statistic, it shows that we're not doing that well. And the most expensive year of college is the 5th and 6th year.
I know that our oldest daughter, she was all set to graduate in 4 years, and she didn't go down to her advisor or didn't hear things correctly, and she had to take summer classes. So she was a victim of this, and I don't know, Chris, if you want to elaborate why that occurred.
Well, what the guidance counselor told her was, I didn't have to tell you because it was an unofficial visit.
Right, but
So
there's
she
three
didn't
sides.
set an appointment,
There's three sides to every story.
Well, so when we look at college planning and do a proper plan, one of the criteria we look at for the colleges selected is what's their 4-year graduation rate. Now, ironically, when I look at UB, great school, but I look at their award letters, they are publishing their 6-year graduation rate. Wow. So your 4-year degree, how many get out in 6 years?
Right.
Well, if you think about it, why I said the most expensive year is the 5th and 6th years, not only the extra year of college cost, but you're not in the workforce.
Yep.
So you lost a year's salary
That's right.
plus an extra year of cost. So that it's a very expensive thing to do. And unfortunately, parents in their mind are planning on 4 years. And unless you really do a good job preparing, you've got a 50-50 chance of that happening.
Becca's problem was she was going to grad school, and so it was holding her up. And what were you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, a lot of programs now are a 5 or 6 year program that kids are getting into. They're combining it directly right in with their masters.
Jeff, how much of a problem are you seeing because of the Excelsior program with private schools? Are they under the gun? Are they cutting deals for students?
Not really. We had about a 9% increase in application to the SUNY schools, which isn't dramatic considering that people thought everything was going to be free. But I think as people got educated and realized that the Excelsior has a lot of hooks, a lot of conditions, and then also it's probably not as good as it sounds because people thought they heard the word free college, but it's free tuition. So it's not free room and board, and it's not free fees, and it's not free books. So it covers about a third of the total cost of going to a SUNY, which to most of these students, they need much more than that. The private schools have adjusted, and I think people go to private schools, if you look at it, they have a higher 4-year graduation rate. And for many of these families who will qualify for the Excelsior, they can afford to go to a private school or spend the same money for that private school as they would a SUNY because of the way the financial structure works. Unfortunately, we have parents looking at sticker price, and we've got to teach them about how the whole system works.
Sure.
Because I've had instances where going to a private school is actually less expensive than a SUNY.
Because they do it in 4 years, right?
They do it in 4 years, and the way the financial aid system works is private schools have more money to give.
I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. We're going to break for the news. We'll be back with your calls on the other side. Hey, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, and we have a special guest talking about college planning. Jeff Boron from the Financial Guys, 633-1515 is his phone number. I will tell you from everything we've heard on the show today, starting 2 years in advance is not starting too early. Correct, Jeff?
That's correct. As early as possible so we can really create a plan.
All right, let's go to the phones, and we got Jerry from Hamburg. Hi, Jerry. How can we help you?
Yeah, I have 3 grandsons averaging in age from like 5 to 12, and I've set up 529 plans for each of them. Is this a good to do for college?
Technically, when you use a 529 and you're a grandparent, if you follow the letter of the law, it can really negatively affect financial aid more so than if it's a parent owning the 529. It's a certain way of filing. It's called a resource of the student. I see no problem in saving for college. It can always be retitled. The owner can be changed. Any money you save is
a good thing.
A good thing. I have parents come to me and say, "Well, I didn't save any money because it was going to affect my financial aid." Well, for a parent, it's 5.64%. So you still have 94 cents on every dollar that's going to help that student. So there's nothing wrong with saving. 529 is a great plan.
But that's interesting to hear that it's for the grandparent, it's affected differently or treated differently on the FAFSA.
It is different, because as the grandparent would take distributions, it's treated differently. It's not that the asset is treated; the asset's not counted,
right? Because
it's grandparent. But as the distributions are taken, it's treated as an income, which is far more detrimental to financial aid. Than
2 of the kids live in Oregon.
Okay.
And does that make any difference?
No, it doesn't. No. What you want to look at, each state has their own 529. Some have some tax credits. So New York State, you live in New York State, I assume. You can get a New York State tax deduction for contributions to a 529, even if the kids live in Oregon.
Oh, because I've been doing it for like 3-4 years already, and it's like $5,000 in each one of their.
You're a good grandfather.
Yeah, and like you said, Jerry, it's not like it's going to be ultimately detrimental. Just like you have to jump through a special hoop to get it to go.
Yeah, there's
the
a
way
few
you
things.
Want.
There's a few mechanics that you have to do so that you can really maximize. And sometimes you don't jump through those hoops because let's say the students wouldn't qualify for any needs-based aid. Well, then we don't care. We don't have to do any of these things. But it's really, let's look at where that position is. We've got some time on our side, but we can plan accordingly.
And if anybody's listening, when you take a distribution from the 529, you still get the college credit on the federal. You just don't get to claim the New York State college credit when you take money out of a 529.
Right, because over and above everything we're talking about today, there's federal tax credits and New York State tax credits for any portion that you pay that isn't funded through not a loan, but a grant or a scholarship.
Esther and Tiffany, you guys bring up some good points. One of the things I want to caution parents about, so let's say you've got a 529 and it's got $50,000 and you've done a great job saving. The first tuition year comes up and you pay everything out of that 529. Well, you go to your accountant, you go to EG Tax, do your tax, and they say, well, did you pay for college? Well, yes, I did. But you didn't tell them you paid for it all out of your 529. So you can't double dip. You can't pay 100% out of the 529, which you got tax preference, and take the tax credits.
On the state.
On the state.
But on the federal, you can do it.
Not use the earnings.
Not the growth.
Appreciation.
Not the growth.
But, I mean, the bottom line is there's not that much appreciation, in a short period of time.
Right.
But the appreciation you cannot use on the federal, but all non-appreciation you can. Jerry, I hope we helped you.
Yeah, the only thing is I'm 71, and I don't know when the kids will be going to college. So if I'm not here, it's into the parents' hands.
Yes, what you're going to have is you're going to have a successor owner on a 529, or you can have that, and that means if you pass, who does the ownership go to? So on every account,
like a beneficiary,
right? There's an owner and a beneficiary. The beneficiary is the student. So let's say your grandchild is the beneficiary. The owner is who actually controls the account, makes the decisions, and gets the tax credits or tax deduction. So you can have a successor owner, which means if you pass away, the ownership will transfer to that person, and that's part of something that you should do when you're looking at, your estate plan.
Chris, what were you going
I
to
was
say?
going to
It sounds good then.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Wait.
Did you want to say something,
yes.
Jerry? Too bad.
No, not to Jerry.
Okay.
To Jeff. Now, what happens, because we see it all the time with IRAs where people don't have beneficiaries listed. What happened, or for IRAs it's beneficiaries,
yeah.
but what happens on a 529 if he didn't have it listed as a secondary owner?
I assume that's going to go as part of probate.
Probate. That's what I was wondering. That's what happens with IRAs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
assume
right.
it'll be part of probate.
So the estate would then control it,
or the
or
court's
would
going to
the,
decide who
Wow.
who the successor
Good question.
owner
Well,
is.
then obviously, then it would be partially taxable on the federal, right? The appreciation, and on the state.
if
of
they
New
make
York.
him take it
Right.
all out? Yeah.
That's
So
right.
that's where planning really, we
Well,
talk.
I'll tell you, anytime you have any kind of a tax sheltered vehicle, make sure you got your beneficiaries on there, because you want to make sure that that isn't something that you're going to leave to the courts.
Yeah, and then you pay a lot of higher tax rate, right, Chris? You and I have seen that a lot of times.
Right. I'm Esther Gilius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We have special guest Jeff Boron, certified college planning specialist from the Financial Guys. If you have, you're going to those college, you're going to those high school graduations right now, and you're thinking about, wow, everybody's going to college. How do they pay for it? This man can help you to pay for it. Jeff, kind of walk me through what kind of things are out there that moms and dads can take advantage of to reduce the overall tax burden. I mean, the college burden.
Well, what you want to be able to do, and I've got software that does this, is research. So the first thing you want to do is know your financial position, something called your expected family contribution, or EFC. And then you want to research.
How much is that, by the way? What is the family contribution?
Well, the family contribution is based on the parents. There's about 8 factors, but primarily based on parents' income and assets, students' income and students' assets. But there's other factors like age of the older parent, number in the household, number in college. But that's a formula that's calculated, and I call that, coincidentally, the college tax. That's
Okay.
what the federal government gives as a guideline of what the minimum is that this family should pay. It's not black and white. People always take that as, well, this is my EFC, so that's what I'm going to pay. It's really a guideline that the colleges use in order to make financial aid awards. But once again, the main thing that's out there is there's a lot of data that we have collected to understand colleges. For example, Cornell's over $70,000 a year college.
Mm-hmm.
Very expensive sticker price, right?
I would think.
But they meet 100% of needs-based aid. So if your EFC comes out to $20,000, you're going to get $50,000 worth of aid from Cornell.
That's pretty
So
cool.
now it's not that expensive.
That's
Where
true.
you look at other schools, other private colleges, for example, and they might meet 40%
And
of
this
aid.
is what's so important about going to see somebody that knows the loopholes, right?
How it all works.
I mean,
How it all works.
I mean, you can sit there at home and fill out your FAFSA and say, gee, I hope the heck we got our fingers crossed. Maybe we'll be able to borrow enough money to send Junior to college. But this is what's so important. When you're sitting down with a professional, they know, and maybe you don't like it, but they know how to make it all work.
Or the truth is, somebody might be looking at Cornell and they were accepted to Cornell, but when they look at the price, their eyes bug out. But really, if they knew all of the ramifications.
And how it works.
Yeah.
And maybe their student is qualified for merit aid. One of the things that I see families, and I blame it on some of our schools, and then also, how you see the SUVs with the stickers in the back window of the college, that syndrome. But I see parents, maybe their students are really driving this, looking at colleges that they have no business being at. It's a reach. The student is barely going to, if he barely gets in, he's going to come out with a C average. He's an average student going in. So they're looking at colleges that attract some of the best people in the world, and they're an average student in Western New York. They're going to really have a struggle.
Do you have that conversation with the parents?
I do, because what's happening...
Do they not like you after you said that Junior
well,
is not
I tell
that
them, look, I'm just going to tell you like it is. That's my style. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or tell you something you want to hear.
That is so good, because I will tell you, many times when I'm doing a tax return, I feel like I should... They're saying that they're sending their kid to college, and I'll say, have you considered someplace less expensive, or because your kid wants to go into basket weaving? I mean, you don't need to go to Cornell to do basket weaving, But many times the parents, it's like their badge of honor.
Well, the thing I tell parents is the biggest mistake that I see families make is allowing a 17-year-old to make a $200,000 decision for the family. That's true. Right?
Yep,
you
well
wouldn't
said.
You wouldn't have the 17-year-old be in charge of, hey, find us our next home to buy. Right. Well, this is a more expensive decision in many cases than it is buying your home.
Yep.
I mean,
Christopher.
I really respect you for that. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever, I've known with some of my daughter's friends, talking to some of the parents is really hard. But, it almost seems like your child, like you were saying, average child going somewhere. Maybe you should send your child to ECC or NCCC, get the feel for college first before they tackle.
And get some of those prerequisites done.
I can't say enough about ECC. They've done a tremendous job locally. Years ago, it was hit or miss whether your credits would transfer. Well, they've done a great job of mapping everything out. So it's not a lottery, or not. Maybe it'll transfer, maybe it won't. Exactly. I passed these classes and I want to go to this school to finish my 4-year degree. These credits are going to transfer.
Start here, go anywhere.
And it's true. They've done a phenomenal job for some of those students who are not emotionally ready to go to, and I went to graduate school at UB. It's an intimidating school. Yep. There's a lot of students, and there's a lot of very aggressive downstate students there.
Yep.
And you walk into a class of 350 students with a professor that can barely speak English. It's intimidating.
That's enough to make your mind
right. And then you start to say to yourself, well, gee, do I really have to go to this class? Or, why am I wasting my time?
I'm Esther Goulias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930. We're talking to Jeff Boron, who's helping us to get our kids to college so that we can afford it. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back on the other side. Hey, I'm Esther Goulias, the tax lady, and we're going to finish up this hour. We got Jeff Boron, certified college planning specialist, and if you haven't learned anything on this show, it's like, go see Jeff. If you got a kid going to college.
And the stroke of midnight, get your FAFSA done.
And your FAFSA's got to get done today. Today's the deadline.
That's right. I'm done for the day.
All right,
don't call me.
So, Jeff, because we do tax returns for a living here, I'll see people that have you'll see clients where she owes $100,000, he owes $100,000. Their payments are killing them. They're now a young married couple with babies, and they're like, ugh. And had they to do it all over,
They always say, if I had to do this all over again.
they wouldn't do it.
I did a tax
They
return
wouldn't do
for
it.
somebody this year. She was a young professional, and her student loan interest, Jeff, for 1 year was $17,000.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
1 year.
I see it all the time.
And
when
it
they,
broke my
So
heart.
even when you talk about the subsidized loans being 4%, 4% at 4% plus 4% plus 4%.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's astronomical.
Staggering.
Well,
so let's talk about what is available, Jeff.
Well, let's talk about for a second. We're talking about student loans. So we've got the Stafford loans, which are at about 4%. That's $5,500 for the first year, $6,500 for sophomore, $75 for junior and senior. So when you get all out, you have less than $30,000 of loans if you took out the max, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But the problem you have right now is you've got students, and $5,500 for their freshmen isn't enough to cover the gap of what they owe.
Right.
So the next alternative, there's something called Parent Plus loan, which I really don't like. That's a loan only in the parent's name at a higher interest rate, roughly 7%. And the student's name is even part of that. So I generally don't recommend Parent Plus loans. It's by the federal government, but it's not a good deal. And repayment starts right away. Private loans can be deferred till the student's done with school.
I don't mean to step in. You said the payments
Begin in the spring. So if you take
all right,
out a
so
loan for the fall,
it's required.
Wow.
You
it's
have to make the
required.
payment.
You're going to start making payment in the spring. So what most students do is they go to private loans. So here's the problem with private loans. And when I ask parents how you're going to pay for college, initially they say scholarships and loans. So let's talk about loans. You got $5,500 that the student can take out in their own name. After that, they have to go to a private loan, and the parent will have to co-sign. Mm-hmm. Now, parents think, okay, it's my son or daughter, I'll co-sign. They're good for it. What they don't realize is that is affecting their credit, and it's also affecting their ability to borrow or refinance things in the future because their debt-to-income ratio changes.
I have a sister right now. She was just talking to me 2 weekends ago, and she says, for my daughter, I have to co-sign, but I don't want to co-sign, but I have to co-sign. And she's like a single parent, and so it's a real tough predicament.
It's a real predicament.
Yeah.
But private loans, because of the default rate, are now running, the average I saw last year was around 8%.
Wow.
So you're signing up for a fairly high interest loan, and if your son or daughter comes out and let's say they can't pay for it, you're on the hook as a parent. You're co-signing this. But more important, what surprises parents is their credit is affected by this, their ability to borrow more money. So what you run into oftentimes is parent wants to help second child,
Can't do it.
they can't do it because they've maxed out their debt-to-income ratio
Mamma
and they
mia.
can't borrow any more money. They can't co-sign for it. They haven't borrowed a dime, but they've co-signed, and it's as if they did.
Jeez.
So that's a huge problem. So that's
So
loans.
then, okay, so now what do you do?
Yeah, well, now what you do is you look at schools that make more financial sense in many cases, schools that are going to help you with either merit or needs-based aid, or schools which are more affordable. You know, if you look at it's great. I love that students go away and find themselves and go away and dorm at a school. I wish I would have done it because it would have been a different experience. I went to Canisius for undergrad. I lived home, and that was good, but it wasn't the true college experience. But that true college experience now is costing anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 a year.
You're paying for the college
dorm.
experience.
For a dorm, right?
Yep.
I mean, you could live in a very nice apartment and have, Grubhub deliver every night for a lot less
There you
than that.
go.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they don't let you
They
do
don't
that
let you.
freshman and sophomore
They don't
year.
let you. You've got to stay on campus at
That's
many
why,
of these
but you
schools.
could stay at home, right?
You could stay at home.
And actually, that sister I was talking about, that if her daughter would stay at home, she wouldn't have to get that loan that the parent had to co-sign for. And
Right.
so,
See, and that's where the kid's driving the bus.
So
Because the kid says to the parent, I'm not staying with you.
So a lot of times what
Get
I
him a
become
tent.
is I become the voice of reason because, all of us in this room have kids, and we know, even my own, that even we know what we're doing, they won't always listen to us. So you've got the kid, the son or daughter saying, I'm going to that school, I don't care, I'll take out loans. The parent comes in and I put up on our screen, here's what your loan payment is going to be when you graduate. And then we build a quick Excel spreadsheet. Well, here's your starting salary. Here's a car. Here's rent. Here's food. we don't have enough to pay our student loan.
I think it would be a good idea to bring the kid in on this meeting, too.
Absolutely, yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And we show that student how it's not going to, you're going to come out and you're
smart.
going to make
Well, that's like
$40,000
when we're
a
doing
year.
the tax return. We always bring the kid in with the
Yep.
parents because the kid says, "I want the
File.
the college credit," and you say, "Well, wait a minute. If you get it, it's $1,000 maybe, but if the parents get it, it's $2,500. So it's $1,500 more if we give it to the parents." Because sometimes knowledge is power, right?
That's right. But a lot of times, there's friction between the parents and the student because the student wants to go
That's
to
being a
school.
teenager.
Yeah, the students want to go to school that's not really feasible, but they're, a wedge has been driven between the parent and student, and I help take that wedge out and say, here's what we're
That's
looking at.
great.
It's reality.
And
That
how many?
is great.
I mean, I know with doing taxes, and we see a lot, the whole gambit. How many people after graduation? Oh, I'm just going to go on the income-based repayment,
Right.
which it sounds really great.
It sounds
The
great, but
the
it's just kicking the
interest,
can
no-
down the road.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
all
making it bigger and bigger and bigger, and people don't realize.
Right. It's, that helps your cash flow, but it doesn't fix the problem.
Yeah, when you talk about the default rate too, Jeff, I mean, what really is a default? You mean where they quit making the payments?
They quit making the payment.
But it didn't. But the bill didn't go away.
No, absolutely not. So if you think about it,
I mean,
and,
at your
why,
coffin, is the bank there ready to pick up what's left?
Well, the problem for a bank is, we all know that there's no collateral. So if you don't pay for your mortgage, your house gets foreclosed on.
Right.
If you don't pay for your car, the tow truck's in the parking lot taking it away. Well, if you don't pay your student loan, what can they do?
Yeah.
So the bank's kind of high and dry. So that's why, they turn it over to collections.
And they seize your refunds. They can
seize-
seize your refunds.
That's right. But you can't walk away from a student loan. It
Yeah.
will follow you forever.
Yeah.
Unless you
unless
have the
you-
10-year, you're working for a not-for-profit.
Not for
for 10
profit,
years.
and
Right.
those rules are subject to change right now. They're looking at actually making that a lot more difficult because too many people in their minds are taking advantage of some of those situations. So that's going to be a harder situation going forward for students to get those loans forgiven.
I mean, so really, the whole the moral of this story is that it is not a panacea going out there and giving your kid an opportunity to go away to college for the college experience, because they end up, repenting and they say make something in haste, repent in leisure. I mean, all those years you got to pay after the fact.
Right. The key, I can't say it enough, is to plan. Get somebody to help you that understands the process, has a system with all the data. We have that to really understand the process and know where you're going to be, so you can create a plan. To pick the right college is probably the most important thing. The other part of our program is we do work with SAT, ACT preps, which are very cost effective. We asked where money comes from. Well, those standardized tests, nobody likes them. The students hate them. I hear from virtually every parent, well, my son or daughter is really smart, but they're just not a good test taker. I've never met a great test taker. They all say they're not a good test taker. Well, you have to learn and practice to become a good test taker on those. Once you hit certain standardized scores, whether we like it or not, there's money there.
I think Chris's brother, if it's okay to say, he got a perfect score in the SAT, and his nephew, and he went to Notre Dame, and the cost was
Next to nothing.
nothing.
Yep. So, preparing for the test isn't just your aptitude. It's knowing how to take the test and also knowing what areas you need to improve on and just focusing on those. And our SAT, ACT prep service that we work with in conjunction with Send Your Kids to College has risen scores by 200-300 points on the SAT.
Wow, that's
so
great.
it's a matter of knowing here's a subject that you need a little bit of help with. Also knowing, should I take the SAT or should I take the ACT?
So if we have people driving to their graduation parties right now and they got kids that are sophomores, really what mom and dad ought to do, it's not like falling out of bed when the kid's now graduated. This is something you need to plan for in many ways. It's not just, can I pay for it? you're saying that you got to find the right job, the right school, the right price, and do it at the least cost.
Right. Find something that's going to fit. And the other thing too is, we're sending our kids to school to prepare them for a career. You've got to do the homework ahead of time to know that that career is a good fit. Because there's nothing worse in life than seeing somebody in a job that they hate going to every day.
Yep.
So if you want your kids to be happy in life, maybe you ended up working at a place because you need to make money for your family and you hate going to work every day. Well, you don't want that for your children. You want them in a career that they're going to get up every day and say, I love what I do.
Now, how much homework do you make people do, Jeff? I mean, you must. How long of a process is this?
It's several meetings. So if we go through and look at what we call student positioning, it's that career major in college. That's several meetings, and a student takes about a 45-minute online assessment. And then there's several meetings after that, really talking about careers, majors, and colleges. The SAT prep is a couple sessions.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much, Jeff, for taking your Saturday afternoon. I'm Esther Goulias, the tax lady from EG Tax. If you need help with college, 633-1515 is Jeff's phone number. We're on egtax.com. 632-7886 is our phone number. Have a great weekend. Stay cool. Bye-bye.